In this life, many people search for signs. They search in the stars, in fortunes told by others, in books and ancient texts. But rarely do they pause and look at their own hands. Yet the hand, and more precisely the palm, holds a map, not to your future, but to your essence. There are 3 secret lines in your palm, not the obvious ones that fortune tellers speak of, but 3 inner paths, hidden in plain sight. To understand them is not to predict your destiny, it is to awaken the wisdom inside you. Let us walk together through these 4 keynotes and uncover what the 3 lines in your palm truly represent. In this world, we are surrounded by countless distractions. Sounds from the street, voices on the phone, headlines that change by the minute, screens that glow into our eyes at night. All of it builds a current that pulls the mind away from the center, a river of noise, a flood of stimulation. And in that current, we often lose our footing. The feet may be on the ground, but the mind is far from the body. You might be sitting, but your thoughts are racing. You might be listening, but your heart is closed. You may even be breathing, but it is shallow, automatic, and forgotten. This is the condition of many in the modern age. Physically present, spiritually absent. Now, let me ask you, when was the last time you looked at your hand? Truly looked. Not to check your phone, not to reach for something, not to point or to grasp, but simply looked at the lines of your palm, at the wrinkles formed by years of motion, at the shape of your fingers, and at the warmth of your skin. Your hand in many ways is a mirror of your life. It holds the essence of your doing. It records your habits, your gestures, your responses to the world. In silence, your hand can teach you. It can show you what kind of life you have lived and what kind of life you are capable of living. There is one line on the palm that people often speak about, the so-called lifeline. They say it determines how long you will live, or how much energy you have, or whether your life will be smooth or full of struggle. But in the teaching I have received, this line is not about how long you live. It is about how deeply you live. This line does not measure time, it measures awareness. It is not the line, it is the line of awareness. A person may live 90 years and still never live a day with true presence. Another may walk this earth only for a short while, but every moment they were here, they were awake, they were sincere, and they were fully alive. This line on your palm, then, is not a prediction, it is a reflection. It shows the depth of your presence, the strength of your connection to what is here now. Awareness is not something you find outside yourself. It is not a pill, it is not a podcast, it is not a lifestyle. Awareness is your original nature, but it has been covered by thoughts, assumptions, and noise. A clouded mirror still reflects light, but the image is dim, unclear. The work of cultivation is not to add anything new to yourself. It is to remove what no longer belongs, to clean the mirror. That is how clarity comes. That is how awareness begins to shine. I remember as a young disciple in the temple, we were tasked with sweeping the training grounds every morning before sunrise. Some would see this as a chore. Some tried to rush. Some would complain silently in their mind, hoping to be done quickly so they could get to more important practices like forms, drills, or meditation. But our master watched carefully. One day I was sweeping, but my mind was somewhere else. I was thinking about a new form I was trying to learn. My body moved with the broom, but my spirit was distant. The master came and said nothing. He simply took the broom from my hand, stood beside me, and began sweeping. Slowly, precisely, deliberately. After a few minutes of silence, he looked at me and said, "When you sweep the floor with awareness, you are not just cleaning the dust, you are cleaning your mind. If you rush, you stir the dust, you see less, you accomplish less. But if you are present, even this simple act becomes meditation." That day I learned, it is not what you are doing, it is how you are doing it. The awareness you bring to an act determines its power. So when we speak of the line of awareness in your palm, understand, it is not about the shape of your hand, but the shape of your attention. If your awareness is weak, life becomes dull, repetitive, meaningless. You miss the beauty of a sunrise. You speak, but do not hear. You eat, but do not taste. And this dullness slowly becomes your life. You feel tired, even when rested. You feel disconnected, even in a crowd, because your spirit is asleep. But when your awareness is awake, truly awake, then every moment becomes a teacher. The sound of wind in the trees, the feeling of breath in your chest, the soft rhythm of your footsteps. These are not trivial things. They are treasures. And they are always available, but only if you are here to receive them. Many people think they need to go to the Himalayas or a remote temple to find awareness. But this is a misunderstanding. Awareness is not a place. It is not a technique. It is not a reward for effort. It is your birthright. But like a forgotten seed buried under concrete, it needs space, it needs light, and it needs silence to grow again. You do not need to escape the world. You need to return to yourself. One time during meditation, a student asked me, "Master, how do I know if I'm progressing?" I replied, "When your mind becomes quiet enough to hear the sound of your own footsteps, you are progressing. When you can watch your own breath like a child watches a butterfly, you are progressing. When you can see the tension in your jaw before it turns into anger and release it with a smile, you are progressing." The line of awareness is not marked by what happens to you. It is marked by how you meet what happens. In martial arts, we train the body, but we are also training attention. A distracted fighter loses before the battle even begins. Presence is power. When your mind and body are united, your movement becomes natural, fluid, precise. When your attention lags behind your action, mistakes are inevitable. Life is no different. The more awake you are to each movement, each thought, each feeling, the less likely you are to fall into unconscious patterns. And those patterns are the true enemy. What are these patterns? They are habits of mind: judging, complaining, comparing, regretting the past, fearing the future. These are the loops we get caught in. And while they are running, we are not living. We are not here. And so the line of awareness fades, not from the palm, but from the heart. There is a story about a farmer who visited the temple. He came seeking peace. He told the master, "I have many problems. My crops fail. My son is disobedient. My wife does not understand me. I work hard, but I am never satisfied. Can you help me?" The master looked at him and said, "I cannot solve your problems, but I can teach you how to hold them differently." The farmer was confused. "What do you mean?" The master picked up a glass of water. "This is like your problem," he said. "If I hold it for 1 minute, it is light. If I hold it for an hour, it becomes heavy. If I hold it for a day, it becomes painful. But if I know how to put it down, I suffer less." Awareness is what teaches you when to hold and when to let go. And letting go is not forgetting. It is choosing where to place your attention. Not every thought deserves your time. Not every emotion needs to be indulged. Not every trigger needs a reaction. With awareness, you gain space. And in that space, you choose a wiser response. This is not a philosophy. It is a practice. It is something you live. Each day you can train your awareness. You can wake up and feel your feet touch the floor. You can listen to the sound of the kettle as you boil water. You can eat without your phone, walk without rushing, speak without needing to impress. These are not grand gestures, but they build a strong line. They strengthen your connection to now. When you do this over time, something changes. The fog begins to lift. The chatter in your mind softens. You begin to notice things not outside, but inside. The way your body reacts to tension, the way your breath shortens when you are afraid, the way your posture changes when you doubt yourself. This is inner awareness. And once it is strong, you become like a still pond, clear, calm, and reflective. Others may carry storms, but you do not absorb them. Others may rush, but you move with intention. Others may live half asleep, but you remain present. This is the hidden power of the line of awareness. It does not change the world around you. It changes the way you meet it. And the beauty of it is this: you do not need to be perfect. You only need to return. Return to the breath. Return to the body. Return to this moment. Again and again, 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times. And every time you return, the line deepens. Do not ask whether your palm predicts greatness. Ask instead, am I living with clarity right now? Am I seeing or am I assuming? Am I listening or just waiting to speak? Am I acting from fear or from understanding? These are the questions that matter, not tomorrow, not someday, but now. So when you next look at your hand, remember, that line is not a decoration, it is a reminder. A reminder that life is not measured in years, it is measured in awareness. And the deeper you live, the more alive you become. The line that cuts through the middle of your palm is often called the headline. Some say it shows how you think. Others say it reveals intelligence, clarity, logic, or how the mind operates under pressure. But this is only a surface-level observation. In the deeper traditions, this line is not just a marker of thought. It is a mirror of direction. It does not just tell how the mind moves. It reflects why the mind moves. It's not the line of thought. It is the line of intention. A life without intention is like a boat without a rudder. It may drift, it may move, but it is always at the mercy of the wind. And too many people live their entire lives like that, driven by external forces. They wake up not because they are inspired, but because they must. They work not because they are passionate, but because of obligation. They speak words they do not mean. They make promises they do not remember. Their movements are mechanical. Their days blur together, and slowly their spirit dims. They survive, but they do not steer. But to live with intention is different. It is not about having goals. It is about having a why, a reason, a clarity of direction that shapes the energy behind every thought, every word, and every action. In the temple we are taught this very early. The mind precedes all things. Before the hand strikes, the intention must be pure. Before the feet move, the direction must be set. You can throw a punch with great force, but if it lacks purpose, it is just violence. You can sit still for hours, but if the mind is scattered, it is not meditation. Intention is the invisible thread that ties action to meaning. One of the first lessons I received as a disciple was during a cold morning in winter. I was tasked with carrying water up the mountain for the day's training. The buckets were heavy. My body ached. I was frustrated, questioning why we had to do such tasks when we came to study wisdom. The master watched silently. When I returned, exhausted, he asked one question. What were you thinking as you carried the water? I answered truthfully, I was thinking about how heavy it was, how cold the air was, how I wished someone else would carry it. He smiled gently and said, then your suffering was not from the water. It was from your lack of intention. I didn't understand. He continued, if you carry water as a chore, you feel burdened. If you carry it for your own pride, you will be impatient. If you carry it to nourish others, the same weight becomes light. That day I understood that intention is not about the task. It is about the spirit you bring to the task. The same action, when rooted in a different intention, creates a different life. And many people try to change their habits. They start new routines. They chase discipline. But without intention, all of it is temporary. You can force yourself to wake up early, but if you don't know why, it becomes a punishment. You can go to the gym, read books, study courses, but if the intention behind these actions is shallow, if you are only doing them to impress others, to escape fear, or to gain validation, then the results will never last. They will crumble the moment discomfort arrives. Intention is like a root. Without it, nothing can grow, but with it, even the hardest soil can be cracked open. When the root is deep, the tree does not fear the wind. Likewise, when intention is sincere, Effort becomes joyful. Challenges become teachers. Obstacles become pathways. This is not philosophy. This is experience. A strong line of intention does not come from force. It comes from alignment. Alignment between your inner values, your thoughts, and your actions. When you think one thing, say another, and do a third, your spirit becomes divided. That division weakens you. But when your inner and outer life are aligned, even the smallest step becomes powerful. A whisper becomes thunder. A gesture becomes transmission. We must ask ourselves often, why am I doing this? Not once, but every day. Every action has an origin. If you are acting from fear, even success will feel hollow. If you are acting from anger, even your victories will carry poison. But if you are acting from love, from clarity, then even your failures will nourish you. Even your stumbles will be sacred. One student came to me and said, "Master, I do not feel motivated. I start things and lose interest. I want to be focused, but my mind is scattered." I asked, "What is your reason for doing what you do?" He replied, "To be successful." Asked again, "What does success mean to you?" He thought and then said, "To be free, to live with peace, to do what I love." I said, "Then stop chasing success, chase peace. Let your intention guide your effort, not your fear of failure. You are not a machine. You are not here to perform. You are here to realize your nature. When the intention is pure, you stop needing permission. You stop needing applause. You act not to prove, but to express. You train not to win, but to embody your values. And this is how a person becomes whole, when they no longer live by accident, but by conscious direction. Look again at your palm. See the line running through the middle. This is not just a crease in your skin. It is a reminder that the mind must be sharp, that your path must be chosen, that the energy of your life must be aimed, not randomly, but with care. In martial arts, we train the mind as much as the body. We are taught to set intention before we even step onto the mat. Before we strike, we bow, not out of ritual, but to humble the ego. To remember, we are not here to dominate, we are here to learn. The bow is an intention, a declaration that we come in peace, with discipline, with respect. Without this intention, fighting becomes chaos. Without this intention, training becomes ego. Without this intention, the art is lost. So too in life. If you enter a relationship without intention, confusion arises. If you pursue a career without intention, dissatisfaction follows. If you speak without intention, your words carry no weight. But when intention guides you, even your silence has power. Even your stillness speaks. Some people say, "I don't know my purpose." But purpose is not something you find. It is something you choose. It is not written in the stars. It is shaped by the quality of your attention. You must stop, listen, reflect. You must go inward and ask not what the world wants from you, but what your soul is trying to say. And when you hear that voice, not the voice of fear, not the voice of pressure, but the quiet, steady voice that arises in stillness, you follow it. Even if it's difficult, even if no one understands, that is intention. Every time you do something that aligns with your inner compass, your line of intention becomes stronger. Not physically, but energetically. Your life becomes less noisy, more deliberate. You no longer say yes to everything. You no longer run just because others are running. You choose. And that choice, grounded in clarity, becomes your strength. We must be careful because the world often rewards action over direction. People will praise you for being busy, for being productive, for achieving results. But none of this matters if the direction is wrong. A person running toward a cliff is still running. A person climbing the wrong mountain is still climbing. Don't be impressed by motion. Be guided by meaning. When you sit in meditation, the body is still, but the mind can still wander. This is the test. Can you bring it back? Can you return to your breath again and again? Not once, not twice, but 1,000 times. This is how intention is built, not through grand declarations, but through repeated returns. Back to center, back to breath, back to now. And every time you return, you remind yourself, I am not my thoughts. I am not my fears. I am not my habits. I am the one who chooses. I am the one who observes. I am the one who decides. That power of decision, is sacred, and it must be protected. So be careful what you say yes to. Be even more careful what you say no to, because every choice you make is a vote for the kind of life you want to live, a vote for the kind of person you wish to become. And the line of intention in your palm reflects these votes, not literally, not magically, but spiritually. It holds the memory of your alignment or your confusion, and you can feel it. When your life lacks intention, your spirit feels dull, unfocused, heavy. But when intention is strong, everything becomes light, even the hard things, even the painful things, because they are part of a path that you chose, consciously, deliberately, with heart. So wake up each day and ask, where is my energy going? What am I feeding with my attention? Who am I becoming through my actions? These are the questions that carve your path. These are the questions that give strength to the line of intention. And in the end, your life is not shaped by what you dreamed of doing. It is shaped by what you intended to do and followed through with sincerity, with discipline, and with grace. Not tomorrow, not someday, but now. There is a line on your palm that runs vertically from the base of your hand upward toward your fingers. Some call it the fate line, the destiny line. Others give it no importance at all. But in the deeper teachings, this line carries something subtle, yet powerful. Not a map of external events, but an imprint of inner response. Not a record of what happens to you, but how you meet what happens. This is not the line of fate. This is not the line of destiny. This is the line of courage. Courage is misunderstood. It is not loud. It does not always roar. It does not always wear armor or walk with force. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the mastery of response in the presence of fear. It is the strength to walk forward when your knees are shaking. It is the ability to speak when your voice trembles. It is the decision to remain still when every part of you wants to run. The world often teaches us to avoid discomfort, to run from pain, to hide from fear. But in the monastery we are taught differently. We are taught that growth lives where fear resides, that the edge of our comfort is the beginning of transformation, that courage is not something you wait to feel, it is something you decide to become. I remember my first day of walking alone into the forest at night. It was part of our discipline training, to walk without a lamp, without guidance, only with your breath and the moonlight. My heart raced, every sound was amplified. The snap of a twig, the flutter of wings, the whisper of wind through the trees. My mind imagined all sorts of things, creatures, spirits, shadows. My breath became shallow. I wanted to turn back. I wanted to run, but something deeper in me said, stay. Feel this. Let the fear rise. Watch it, but do not run. That was the moment I first met true courage. It was not dramatic. There was no victory, no applause, no ending, just a quiet return to myself. My breath, my steps, my awareness. And that was enough. We each have moments in life where fear visits. Sometimes it comes as doubt, sometimes as confusion, sometimes as the weight of failure or the unknown. But fear is not the enemy. Fear is the gatekeeper. It stands between the life we know and the life we are capable of living. It does not need to be destroyed. It needs to be understood. There is a story told by an old teacher about a young boy who was afraid of the dark. Every night, he would light a candle to keep the shadows away. One day, the master took him to a cave, deep in the mountains. They entered in silence. No flame, no lantern, just darkness. The boy trembled. The master said, "Close your eyes." The boy obeyed. The master asked, "Can you see the fear?" The boy nodded. "Good," the master replied. "Now open your eyes and bow to it." The boy hesitated. "Why should I bow to fear?" he asked. The master whispered, "Because fear is your teacher. It shows you where your boundary is. And bowing is not surrender, it is respect. When you bow to fear, you acknowledge its presence. And then you rise above it. The line of courage on your palm is shaped not by how fearless you are, but by how deeply you are willing to face what scares you without turning away. It records not your victories, but your willingness to step forward even when defeat is possible. It is not the line of heroes. It is the line of humans who choose to live fully despite the risk of pain. In life, it is easier to stay safe, to stay where it is familiar, to walk roads that have already been mapped. But nothing grows in safety. A seed must break to become a tree. A bird must crack the shell to fly. A river must carve through stone to find its path. So too must you. You must break through your own walls, your own limits, your own habits, if you wish to be truly alive. In the temple, we often meditate on the warrior's heart. Not the warrior who fights others, but the one who wrestles with the self, who stands in front of doubt and does not flinch, who faces rejection, failure, loss, and still continues to walk forward, not because it is easy, but because the path is right. And this courage does not only exist in big, dramatic choices, it lives in small, everyday acts. It takes courage to tell the truth, especially when the truth is inconvenient. It takes courage to ask for help, especially when your pride says to stay silent. It takes courage to rest when the world glorifies exhaustion. It takes courage to forgive when your ego demands revenge. It takes courage to be kind when you are hurting. And it takes even more courage to see yourself clearly, to see your patterns, your shadows, your mistakes, and not turn away, not judge, but accept, learn, and evolve. This is the true warrior's path. The line of courage is not a mark of muscle or strength. It is a mark of inner resilience. That no matter how many times you fall, you return. That no matter how uncertain the road is, you take the next step. That no matter how loud the world becomes, you keep listening to your inner compass. Many people wait for the right moment. They say, "I'll speak when I feel ready. I'll try when I feel confident. I'll start when I have no fear." But that moment never comes. Because courage does not arrive first. Action does. And with each step taken in the presence of fear, confidence is born, clarity is born. So we must learn to act with fear, not without it. To speak with a shaking voice, to walk with unsteady feet, to love with a vulnerable heart. This is courage. In training, there is always a point where the body wants to stop, where pain begins to speak, where the mind says, "This is enough." But the breath is deeper than the mind. It becomes an anchor, a reminder that you are more than the thoughts, more than the limits, more than the story of "I can't." In those moments we breathe and we move 1 inch more. That inch, that single breath of pushing past the mind's boundary, that is where the line of courage edged. And it is never easy. If it were easy, it would not be sacred. Courage also means letting go. Sometimes we think of courage only as holding on, fighting, enduring, resisting. But true courage also lives in surrender. To let go of a dream that no longer serves you, to release an identity that no longer fits, to walk away from people who dim your light. These too are acts of bravery. Letting go does not mean giving up. It means making space. Space for what is real. Space for what is now. Space for who you are becoming. And becoming is not a straight line. It is messy. It is layered. It is full of spirals and returns. But as long as you return with sincerity, with awareness, with the willingness to continue, the line of courage grows deeper. There will be times when the world does not support your path, when people question you, when failure visits. In those moments, you must choose not to crumble, not to blame, but to remember who you are and why you walk. Because courage is not just for yourself, it is a gift to the world. Every time you choose to live with heart, to speak the truth, to live with purpose, to act with kindness, you give others permission to do the same. Your courage becomes a mirror, a spark, a beacon. And when people ask you later in life, how did you become who you are? You will say, I was never afraid. You will say, I was afraid, but I moved anyway. That is the story worth living. And so this line on your palm, the line of courage, is not written by destiny. It is written by your decisions. One breath at a time, one choice at a time, one moment of showing up. Despite the fear, you may not control what the world brings, but you always control how you meet it. With presence, with clarity, with courage. This is the path of those who walk awake. This is the path of the open heart. This is the way. There is a fine line in your palm that seems almost invisible to many. It does not dominate like the lifeline, nor does it declare itself like the line of intention or the line of courage. It exists quietly, often unnoticed. And yet, those who look deeper understand that this line carries a wisdom beyond words. It does not point to the future, nor does it carry the weight of the past. This is not the line of achievement, nor of fate, which is the line of presence. And it is the only one that exists entirely in the now. Presence is the rarest form of human power. In a world where attention is constantly fractured, divided and dispersed, to be fully here is revolutionary. To sit without needing to reach forward. To breathe without dragging the past into the moment. To listen, truly listen, without forming a reply in your head. This is not weakness, this is not passivity, this is clarity, stillness. In the monastery we are told, presence is the master, the body is the servant. If the servant acts without the master's awareness, chaos follows. But if the master is awake, watching, guiding, breathing, even the smallest action becomes sacred. A step on the path becomes a journey. A sip of tea becomes meditation. A word spoken becomes a seed planted in the universe. I remember a lesson given in silence. It was a cold morning. My teacher motioned for us to sit with him by the lake before sunrise. We sat. The wind brushed the surface of the water. Our robes fluttered. He said nothing for a long time. The sun slowly climbed. Still, no words. Only breath. Only silence. And then finally he turned and said, most of you were waiting for me to speak. You thought the lesson hadn't started, but the lesson was this. Your mind was elsewhere. You missed the birds returning. You missed the water shift color. You missed the presence of the world around you. You came here to learn something important, and so you missed everything that was already here. That morning I realized presence is not something you find, it is something you return to. Many people live like ghosts. Their bodies move but their minds wander. They are drinking tea but thinking about work, speaking with someone but planning what to say next, walking in the forest but scrolling through memories or regrets. They are always somewhere else. As if now is not enough. As if life happens later, after the next achievement, after the next fix, after the next distraction. But life does not wait. It unfolds now, breath by breath, moment by moment, like ink dropped in water, subtle, dissolving, changing everything. The line of presence on your palm is not about how often you are mindful. It is about how deeply you return, how sincerely you arrive, how wholly you are able to inhabit the moment without resisting it or chasing something beyond it. Presence requires trust. Trust that this moment, however ordinary or uncomfortable, is complete. It does not need to be improved, escaped, or replaced. That trust is rare, because the mind has been trained to fix, to seek, to run. But presence teaches a different rhythm, a rhythm of being, not doing. A rhythm that does not push, but receives. That does not grasp, but rests. It takes courage to be present, to sit with yourself and feel everything. The confusion, the boredom, the anxiety, the joy, without judgment. To allow what arises instead of controlling every second. Presence is not comfort, it is truth. And truth is not always pleasant, but it is always liberating. There is a saying among the elder monks, if you cannot sit for 5 minutes without distraction, you are not in control of your life, your habits are. And so we train, not to become statues, not to become indifferent, but to become awake. Awake to the taste of food, awake to the sound of another person's voice, awake to the feeling of your feet touching the earth, awake to your own breath, the miracle you've ignored for years. One student once asked, "Master, how do I know if I am present?" I smiled and replied, "If you need to ask, you are not." Because presence does not ask, it knows. It does not observe from the outside, it dissolves the outside. Think of a time when you were completely immersed in something. Watching a fire burn, listening to music that melted time, holding someone's hand and feeling the universe pause. That was presence. Not dramatic, not complicated, just this. Unfiltered, undivided, pure. And yet, most of life is spent in distraction. Even the pursuit of self-improvement can become a form of escape. You chase new goals, new teachings, new knowledge. But are you actually present for what you already have? You seek peace, but can you be peaceful for even one breath? Presence is not something you earn, it is something you practice. It begins when you choose to stop just for a moment and feel what is really here. The texture of the table under your hand, the air brushing your skin, the emotion moving through your chest, not to analyze it, not to fix it, but simply to witness. We often think of mastery as control, but the greatest mastery is surrender, not giving up, but letting go of the illusion that you must hold everything. Presence is that letting go. It is the permission to rest. Not in sleep, but in being. Even in movement, presence lives. A martial artist does not strike with thoughts scattered across the day. The strike comes from stillness. The reaction from the opponent does not come through planning. It comes through awareness. The body reacts not because of strategy, but because of deep connection to now. In combat, the one who is truly present can see before seeing, can feel before movement. That is not magic, that is mastery of attention. The line of presence is not about performance. It does not grow through knowledge, but through sincerity. Every time you return to your breath, every time you taste your food instead of swallowing it unconsciously, every time you look into someone's eyes and see them, really see them, that line deepens. There is a stillness in presence that holds great power, not the power of force, but of gravity. Presence draws others in. It makes people feel seen, safe, heard. That is why the greatest teachers do not speak the most, they see the most. Their presence is their transmission. And you have that power too. But only when you slow down, only when you stop needing to be somewhere else. Only when you honor the miracle of now. Ask yourself right now, where are you? Not just your body, your awareness. Is it here or is it trapped in yesterday or running ahead to tomorrow? And if it is not here, gently invite it back. Through the breath, through the body, through the senses. Presence is not about perfection. You will drift, you will forget, you will fall asleep again and again. But the beauty is, you can always return. Always.